Hello, I'm Stefania Del Prete. I'm going to guide you on the case study of the happiness report dataset for doing our data analytics exploration in Spreadsheet. Just a reminder, for our case studies, we connected the happiness report to the goal 3 to ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all and for all ages. And in particular, we're going to explore the happiness dataset for the year 2024. Just a reminder, inside this dataset, you will see the country name, the happiness rank, the happiness score, and the whiskers high and low for lower and upper confidence of the interval of the happiness scores, and then different categories to the extent of which they contribute to the calculation of the happiness score. For example, economy, GDP per capita, family, and health. In particular, for a spreadsheet, we have some advantages. It's quite easy for collaborations. It's quite a user-friendly interface and cost-effective. But it has some limitation in terms of how large is the data set. Usually there is this limit of 10 million cells, and also limited statistical function, visualization, and machine learning capabilities. We can also choose between open source alternatives such as LibreOffice Calc or LibreOffice Calc or Apache OpenOffice Calc. Or there is proprietary software, Google Spreadsheet or Microsoft Excel. We're going to use Google Spreadsheet in our case. So this is our case study in Spreadsheet with some of the graph that we're going to choose to represent this case. If you click and follow along, please make sure to do File and Copy, make a copy, because you will have the only view access to the document. So first of all, File, make a copy, and you can edit like this the name. The first step will be to gather the data and ideas. So thinking more about the data set itself, if we want to explore more different behavior from different continents or for different scores or for different categories and correlation. We'll focus our case studies on the correlation between the different category that I mentioned again is to which extent that particular category contributes to the calculation of the happiness score. First, you have to import the data. So download the CSV file and then go to here, File, Import. And then what you want to do is to check, especially create a new spreadsheet if you started from scratch, or if you already did these different tab categorization as I did, you can do replace current sheet. Let's go back to our sheet. When you do that, you will have, if you do that in the same one, in the same spreadsheet, you will have all the data set from the CSV file. You can notice there is also some empty values and some zero as well. If it's empty, it's still recognized as a numerical columns, and we can perform some statistics on it. So what we want to do is the second point, data exploration. As Excel is very visual, we're going to do press button to have less decrease the decimal places, and also we'll create more columns out of a particular formula. Let's see what you can find here. So to have this new tab, you can just press add sheet and have this new sheet. And as you can check here in the different columns, this is not a copy and paste, but if you do equal, and then we can check one together. If I do equal, and then go back to our getter data, and check the first one in here, a 1, we will have the year. Because if you can check here, the first is the year. But we want the column country name. So we can do equal, go back to the first, and have our, I think the first was the rank. The rank. If you can see here, we have the rank. Here you can see different numbers just because it was already rearranged by a particular column. So the first time what you do is to select the column that you want by equal, and in this case here. Another way is to do copy and paste, but make sure to have always the same order. And then what we want to do, for example, is to put a little bit of more reorganization of alignment. And then let's go and start with some more modification. For example, we had decreased the decimal places compared to the original dataset. And we also added 2 particular columns based on a formula. To do this, what we did is first calculating the median. So we choose 2 columns, the healthy median, the healthy life, and the freedom, 2 categories that contributes to the happiness score. And what we want to do from there, we want to create 2 columns that use the median of each of these values as a threshold plus something to categorize if the country has a good score or something needs to improve. If it's good in terms of the contribution to the happiness score for that particular category. So here you can see again equal, median, and we choose the columns. And then what we did is to create the particular formula. Equal if is the conditional, to then add our conditional that we decided. So if this one is true, so if the values of healthy life expectancy is bigger than this particular value plus this 0 plus 1 that I created this formula. If it's true, it's associated with good, otherwise it's associated with improve. Notice that here, something that probably we changed in the middle of our workshop in person, you can see that is some dollar sign. The dollar sign means that if we drag these cells, it remains the same cell, and the order will be changed. Okay, so if you can see here is F3 now, but K remain on 2. Okay, if you go here again, our median remain here and the order will change. Exactly the same things we'll do for the freedom category. For the pivot table, we're gonna, it's still inside the data exploration, data manipulation. We're going to create this little table. Make sure that the rows and the columns will be categorical variables. It means that the number of the unique values are quite limited. We can think about 10 or a bit more, but it's something that manageable. It's not something like a temperature that is a continuous values. How you do that? You go here, insert, and then pivot table. And then you've been asked if you want a new sheet or existing sheet. If you're going to do new sheet, it's going to have another sheet here, another tab here below. So once you create it, you can rename, for example, users pivot table, you can rename it. And at the beginning will be empty. You have to add columns. If you press here, edit, once you copy the file, you can see how I built this one. Out of these different columns, I choose for rows continent that we know that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 available for us. And then for columns, we choose the columns that we just created. You can see we have good, improve, and also the grand total. The grand total is the number of the countries appearing and responding in this particular dataset. For the count itself, because we have something to fill this particular pivot table, we choose healthy life expectancy and we put the count. You can do something very similar to replicate this for the other one, for the freedom. So we will have the freedom category and still the continent for our rows and columns. And then to fill out, we can choose, for example, freedom and the variable and the function count. So we can replicate all of these also for the freedom one when we already have one other column. And we can start to interpret the data. Our first step is to do some data visualization. For putting everything in order, I added another sheet. But usually what's happened is that you have to copy and paste from one sheet to the other. So usually if you don't have already something in mind, you can also use the automatic version when you select two columns and you click the insert chart. There is a little bit of interpretation behind, but what we want to do is correlation. So scatter chart is ideal for this purpose. And let's check the other graphic representation that we did. So in here, you can see there is a scatter plot, histogram to histogram, and our particular data set that we use from our pivot table as a column chart. To just give you an idea, what I did is in our data exploration, if you check two variables, I think there was these two, and do the button for insert chart, the chart will be prompt in here. This is not something that we want. We actually wanted a scatter plot. So we can check it from here, or we can go ahead and customize. Okay, here the scatter plot, but this is divided. So we want to something that is really putting everything together. So we're going to delete this one. Sometimes you can also switch, but in this case, is not our case. Okay, if we use our columns here, we can find something that is more connected to our scatter plot between the two variables. In our case, if you want to check the data visualization already there, you can do that just by clicking over it. So here, for example, was perception of corruption and generosity. If you double click, again, remember to copy it, otherwise it's only the view version. And you can check the setup to check exactly which columns are in here. You can see here data exploration G and H. Data exploration G and H were these two. Okay, so generosity and corruption. The two were just selected before. And then you can check the chart side, style, the different setups that was checking here. We customize a little bit the title. Here we have two histogram. The histogram is always super useful because they give an idea of the distribution of one particular variable. You can double check. So this is for one variable. You can see here one columns. And again, you can check, you can customize from different aspects of it. Okay. What we want to do is to compare between two variables. We can see here what we call it a normal distribution, quite central with a little bit of a Q. It seems that the centrality of generosity is close to 0.12, while for healthy life expectancy is more on the upper side of this range, 0.55, but then there is some peak also um, um, greater than that. That means that this variable contribute more to the happiness score than generosity. So something to start think about it. Then we use our pivot table. You can see here the setup. We just selected the part in the middle. You can see A2 to C8. So A2 to C8 is this part. We're not interested in the grand total, but just the good and improve based on the different continent. And we're going to use a column chart. In this case, we can see that different countries, for example, in Africa, for this particular contribution for healthy life and expectancy, has different room for improvement based on the answers on this particular data set. But also in North America, you can see there is something interesting here going on. So it's interesting to check the different country and different division and different division of continents itself. So you can see that even from a little data sets, we can have different insights that we can check. And that's exactly the last part, the insights. What we're going to do, and I'm going to go back to this slide, it's very similar. What we want to do is to think about what we did. We have some hypotheses at the beginning. Are they satisfied or not? There is new trends that surprise us. Really put your thoughts on the data interpretation and check eventually some particular trends or country that you want to corroborate eventually with other supplementary resources to check if they can be an interesting results or something that need more exploration. So continue to do that. You can check it with another year for the happiness report or repeat it these steps with another data set. Thank you.